Probably one of the most famous lines in movie history. I'm sure you've heard it before. There's a picture of Dorothy. I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. Or what she said, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. And who's her dog? Toto. I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. May I ask you, a different world, in your lifespan, what invention or movement has been the biggest change that influenced you? What change or movement has impacted your life in your lifespan? A technology, a movement? Now I'm not going to ask you to speak up. What influenced the world? What change do you think has? So in the past 25 years, this is what someone said is the greatest change in our society. Key inventions the last 25 years, Wi-Fi. My wife and I camped down in Houston Woods a couple weeks ago, and we're walking around the campground, and we noticed these long poles, and I thought they were maybe, is that for like tornado warnings and storm warnings? They go, no, that's for Wi-Fi. So now campers get it. Well, somebody says we don't camp, we glamp. Get it, glamping? Wi-Fi. Smartphones. Do you know the smartphone has more computer technology than the first space shuttle that flew into space, and it has more. Your smartphone has everything a 1983 Radio Shack ad would have. Did you know that? Changes in our life. There is online banking, cashless transactions. I pay most of my bills online and use credit cards and debit cards, all that sort of stuff. Very few of us carry around cash. Major change in our world. And Google, just imagine this, just a couple clicks on your keyboard and you can have thousands of pieces of information for any topic you like and find things. By the way, do you guys get any more yellow pages? If you ask the confirmants what the yellow pages are, they'll say, what? Because we have what? Google. You don't have those big books anymore, okay? They're GPS. If you use GPS, I just love it. However, I do have to say that if I followed a certain GPS a couple times, I would have ended up in the middle of a cornfield. Apparently, some road was removed or wasn't made in time. And then there's flat screen TVs. Wow, 76, 82 inches, 54 inches, 48. You can get a cheap one for 32 inches for under $100. How many remember when I was a kid you had like the stereo system? Remember that? It took like 4 bodybuilders to carry it into your house. And then you remember those large screen TVs actually looked like something from NASA, you know? It took about 6 people carrying your house. And now we have large screen TVs. That's pretty cool. And YouTube. Just simply type in YouTube. You can listen to all sorts of blogs from all sorts of people. Anything you want to hear from 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It can be quite educational or entertaining. And Facebook. You don't have to raise your hand if you're on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'd like to keep track of some of you. Some of you can keep track of me. But there's Facebook, major changes, and Fitbit. My lovely wife has a Fitbit, and she can keep track of her heartbeat and even her blood pressure. And these are major changes in the last 25 years. Which one to you has made the major change? And I heard that we know about 4G and 5G. There's a new, apparently I'm not good at this, new G coming out. That surgeons are now going to be able to direct surgery because there's not going to be any lapse in time in technology. Even with 5G, there's sort of a slip in time. And so interesting how things have changed our world. Now, I'd like to talk to you about how schools have changed the last 25 years. You don't have to raise your hand if you haven't been in school 25 years ago, never mind. But I'd like to talk about how schools have changed in the last 25 years. First of all, no corporal punishment. I was kidding with my confirmation class that. How many went to a day and age where kids got paddled at school? How many of you got paddled at? Never mind, okay. How many don't want to admit it? There you go. Right. All sorts of punishment. I remember there was at my junior high, outside the front door of each classroom, there's a white line that was drawn on the floor, and you put your toes on and you lean your body against it. Not that I know from personal experience. I was a very well-behaved young man. But anyways, there's no corporal punishment. And some of you might even remember when you got grabbed by the nape of your neck or maybe a shoulder. Do you remember those days? Life has changed. We just don't touch kids today. More cooperative learning. Gone are the days because I said so and I'm the teacher and you're going to sit here and this is how it's going to be done. There's more group work and there's going to be more cooperation. Let's do projects together. STEM, what is STEM? Anybody know? Science, technology, engineering, math. That's hot. 2 of my kids have degrees in STEM. And that's what's up and coming, STEM. And there's also more technology. You probably didn't know this, but I was a teacher here for 3 years, many years ago. I'm not going to tell you when. But that was when we had a blackboard and desks with books and pencils and paper. And the technology, remember those 8mm? Some of you don't remember those 8mm film. You have to pull it through. Remember that? And then you had the little slide thing. That was the extent of our technology. And I also had a cassette player. You had to press the button. Now there's magic boards, and now our students have their own computers, and they have all sorts of technology with them. And they can even do, and here's the thing that's a bummer for you guys. When we didn't have school, you had no school. You guys have school, we can send you the homework now, right? Bummer, all right. More technology. There is more inclusion of those with a variety of needs. I went to Euclid High School, and we were one of the first public high schools in the state to include those with special needs and disabilities. Back then it was called mainstreaming. Now it's just part of our education. That a special needs person, teachers will come in and assist in the classroom. And probably the biggest change is there's more expansion of cultural diversity, values, and norms. What I'm trying to say is that I get a feeling anymore the world that I grew up in and the world that you grew up in is very different than the world that they grew up in. They're exposed to a lot more different values. No longer is the Judeo-Christian system or the Bible taught or embraced. And in some ways we can say that's good. They're exposed to the world more. In other ways it's not so good. Life has definitely changed a lot. A superintendent of a large high school once told me what's the biggest difference between life when I was in high school and life for these folks is that when I went to high school, when I came home, my high school day ended. We had a landline with a wall phone. And if you wanted to talk to me, you had to call up the landline or show up my door. I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters, so good luck trying to call me. Now with Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat, 24/7 high school's with you. And the gossip and the bullying and those sorts of things go with them too, as well as all the temptation and all the pressure with it. Life is very different in high school. A wise person said that a person in high school probably has to make more moral decisions in a day than most of us had to in a year or entire high school experience. People just don't embrace the same values that we embraced. In my previous congregation, and we have a retired superintendent in our church, and maybe some of you can share, it's a very different world for high school students when I was in high school, and probably the biggest difference is a breakup of the family. When I was in East Peoria, I was in Kiwanis, and we had an open classroom, and we filled it full of shampoo and soaps and shoes and socks, because there were some kids who lived out of their locker. I mean, my locker is where I keep all my stuff, and once in a while I spend it with my friend. I know of a couple kids in high school, they live out of their car because their parents booed them out of the house and they don't deal with it anymore. I know some high schoolers who live with friends, or they move around with friends. And so it's a very different world. Our high schools are exposed to so many more moral decisions. There's now, I don't know, and I'm not against this, I'm not criticizing one or another, there's now gender-neutral bathrooms or gender-non-specific bathrooms. I heard that there's a stall that goes all the way from the roof to the floor. And so it's a very different world in which you guys live in compared to me. In some ways it's better, in many ways it's not, because there's a whole lot more that gets thrown on you compared to me. When I went to school, most of my kids were churched. Now when you guys go to high school, most of the kids are non-churched or unchurched or de-churched. It's just a very different world that we live in. So what's it like to live in a world like that? I don't know what it's like. Now, I'm just saying this out of love. For most of us, we can't think abstractly. And when we think of school, we think of, well, yeah, I remember when I went to school way back when. What's it like to go to school now? To think outside the box and say, what's that like? It's a whole new world. It's a very different world. And so today's Confirmation Sunday, and they will make, and Ashlyn and Adelaide and Brianna will make confessions of faith. And the question is, what's to live in a world like that? And by the way, you guys are all going to graduate from 8th grade, and guess what you guys are going to be next year? Say it. Freshmen. You get to be little freshmen. You're a big fish in a little sea, and now you're little fish in a what? Big sea. And I don't know, they played tricks on us. They tried, when I was a first year in high school, people tried to sell us, like elevator passes. We didn't have elevators in our high school and things like that. So what I'm trying to say is, you're going into a new world, right? What's it like to live in a world like that? And we all, and I'm flipping gears here, but I'll come back to it. We all like the normal and the familiar. We're creatures of habit. How many of you sit in the same pews? I bet a lot of you do. Somebody after church said, Pastor, just wasn't a good service. I said, what didn't make it a good service? Somebody was sitting in my pew. I talked to the elders and I said, we need to have a fundraising program. What's that? Well, we can sell pews to members. Sort of like getting tickets, season tickets, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. We're creatures of habits. How many worship at the same time? I bet most of you do. And how many of you enjoying the same meals and TV shows? We are creatures of habit. And so the disciples, and so now we get into the meat. Disciples, after the emotional rush of Jesus' death and resurrection, returned to life as normal as fishing, good days and bad days. And let's just be honest. Easter is over, and for a lot of us, we say, oh, guess what? Our lives are so busy. I'm not thinking about Easter anymore. But Jesus is still alive. Jesus is still resurrected. And Jesus comes to us in our normal lives. Jesus comes to us even in the new world that we live in. And so Jesus says, friends, children, have you any fish? Notice he didn't say you over there. He called them his friends and children. Jesus still loved and cared for them. And I think Jesus today would call you friends and children. It's a very warm embrace. Friends and children. Have you any fish? And what Jesus is saying is, I don't want to buy any from you, but there's a meal I want to prepare and I need your fish. You got any of this? You ever say that for supper? Got any of this? Because this is the type of meal that we're having. And so, throughout your net on the right side, when they did, they couldn't haul the net in because of a large number of fish. And bring some fish you have caught, and they had breakfast together. And this is now the third time Jesus appeared to his disciples. So, there's nothing exciting about that. Except that the risen guy is on the seashore, and he's saying, bring me some fish so I can come and eat with you. And the point that I'm trying to get at is, be present. Jesus is present with us. When I think of Jesus, Jesus simply wants to be present in your life. He wants to hang out with you. He wants to be present with you. He wants to say, I love you, I know you. To be present with him. Yeah, on confirmation Sundays in the past, you say, okay, now you three walk the straight and narrow. Okay, you three, there's a lot of temptation out there. We live in a new world. But I think what Jesus is saying now is, I want you to be present with me and let me be present with you. And I used to say, okay, now you guys go and be lights. And now I'm saying, just allow Jesus to be present with you and be present with one another. Just be present. Be Jesus with skin on. Just be present with others. Give them the gift of fellowship. Just be present as Jesus is present with them. What's it like to live in a world like that? And there's pictures of Brianna and Adelaide and Ashley. You remember that picture? Okay, so they're all smiling. What's it like? What's it going to be like next year being freshmen in a new world? Well, I simply say, I want Jesus to be present with me in my life, the resurrected Jesus, that I might be present in other people's lives. You see, a world where our risen Lord loves and cares for us. He's present with us. A world where God knows the challenges and joys. He knows what you're going through. By the way, there is no temptation or junk that happens in high school that Jesus hasn't experienced. There is no temptation or junk that happens in your life that Jesus hasn't been through. He's been there, done that. As wise King Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. People try to invent something new, but it's nothing new under the sun. And the resurrected Lord's with you. And finally, a world we're called to kingdom to share that hope and joy, to be with him. And a new world, and we all live with the hope of the resurrection. Now, I share this. This is our Christ candle. And we light it on special days like Christmas and Easter. We light it on Reformation Day. We light it on Pentecost Day. And we also light it for some very special occasions. We light it at the baptism. We light it at your what? Confirmation. We light at your marriage, and your parents are saying, Pastor, don't bring that up yet. And you know the day we're going to light it at? Say it. They're what? Because one day you will die. And so I, and so all you. The Christ is with us, the resurrected Christ, and this light represents that. So read the verse with me, please. I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever lives and believes in me will never die, present with us. So how about this? I always close sermons with closing thoughts. So can you read them with me? I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. God is our refuge and strength, very present in all trouble. And fear not, I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10. And by the way, they're your three confirmation verses, but did you catch it? They're all about Christ being present with us and we being present with Christ. That's sort of pretty cool. They chose them, I didn't. So it's unique how God worked that out. So, at St. John, we close all sermons and all God's people say, Amen.